Hello. So today what I want to look at is working with dynamic TopNs. So not specifically how to create that, because there are already lots of great blog posts and videos as to how to create those measures, but rather once you've created them, how to display multiple metrics based on your dynamic TopN. So what I mean by that is this. What I'm currently displaying in this visualization are the top 5 football players who have been transferred into fantasy football teams within a certain time period. So here I have my top 5 transfers in, top 10, again based on the slicer value. So very standard stuff. If in the same visualization I want to display another metric, it can potentially get a little bit tricky, or you see data that you don't want to see. Now, for me, there are 2 ways of doing it, and I know which one I prefer. So here, top N transfers in. I also want to see the transfers out of those same players. So I can click on my transfers out and it shows me the values. So I have my top N transfers in, and of those players, I also have the transfers out value now, which is great. However, I see too much data, because I've also got all these values. Now, I could quite simply go to my filters pane for the visualization, and then say, okay, but top N transfers in, don't show me those which are blank. So, excuse me, I've done it incorrectly. Yeah, so don't show those which are blank, which is great because now whatever I add, I'm not going to see the rows where this is blank. So if I go 20, I'm still going to see 20. Nice, fine. Works. However, I'm not such a fan of adding a filter to each visualization. So for example, if I want to do this for multiple metrics and display in different ways, I'd have to, of course, apply that same filter to each of my visualizations or the page, of course, depending on what you're doing. The page level filter could, of course, have certain issues if you're displaying the same data multiple ways, all that kind of stuff. So I don't really like messing with stuff in the filter pane unless I have to. So my preferred way of doing it is slightly different. Not at all complex, I would say, but just slightly different. So I'll remove that filter that I just applied in the filter pane, and I will also remove my transferred out. I do have a measure which is top N transfers out. So of course when I click on that, it's not showing me the same players, because those which are the top 10 transfers in are not the same as those which are the top 10 transfers out. So how do I go about changing that? So what I would do would be to create another measure, or in this case I'm altering the measure just for the sake of displaying, and I'm simply going to rank the data by something else. I'm going to go and say, okay, this is my dynamic top N for my transfers out, and I'm just going to change what I'm showing. So I'm saying, show me basically all the transfers out ranked by transfers out. So in order to ensure that I'm going to show the values to the players that I want to see, I just need to rank it by something else. And what I'm going to rank it by is the transfers in. So instead of saying rank it by the value I want to see, I'm going to say rank it by a different value. So I'm going to go transfers in, click here, and then it'll do exactly that. So now, as you can see, I have my top N transfers in. This measure is currently called top N transfers out. And that's not entirely accurate now because that's not what I'm showing. So I'd have to change that name a little bit, but I've achieved what I want to, and I'm not having to use a great deal of filters on the filter pane. Again, this is like a best practices thing, or not best practice, but a preference thing, I should say. I don't like using filters on the filter pane when I don't have to. I'd rather build that filter into the measures that I'm using, or in this case, not a filter, but I'd rather rank it within the measure itself. In my mind, that also gives you a little bit more freedom to display the data however you want to display it. Yeah. So, very quick little thing, but basically what we're trying to do is rank a measure by a different measure to ensure that when I have defined what I want to display in my visualization, so in this case my top 10 transfers in, I can rank it by something else and I get the same level of data all the way along. So now of course when I say 5, it's going to show me the 5 because I'm ranking this one by that one. And it works really well. And you can do this with, of course, not just with one measure, but multiple measures. So you can display that and have a nice graphic which categorizes the data in a nice way. Maybe I can just bring something in to show you what I've done in the past. So if I take this visualization quickly and I'll put it on this page, it's a very similar thing. So here I have my top, let's just make it top 10, make it a bit nicer. I have my top 10 players ranked by return percentage. And now I can see this. So basically these things here are all ranked by the return percentage. For me, the most important thing is the return percentage. And I want to see other values that are that go along with those players. So I've simply said return percentage is of course ranked from itself, and everything else is ranked by return percentage, and I can create, for me, a fairly decent visualization, which is showing the values that I want to see. Cool. Yeah, so I hope that helped. I hope it's clear what we're trying to do. I will link a couple of blog posts and videos on this video, so you can go back to the very start if you've never worked with the dynamic TopNs before. Very much worth putting in your reports. Gives the user a bit more flexibility, gives you a bit more flexibility in how you create that report. But this is just like the next step of how to group those values together. Great. So I hope it helped. I hope you have a lovely day. If you disagree with how I've gone about that, then of course let me know. And if you have a better way of doing it, always let me know. I'll be happy to learn from you. And yeah, thank you very much, and take care, and goodbye.